Welcome to all of you who follow KFAN on Twitter and Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate it. I'm Brandon Mileski. He's Pat Micheletti, staying up late here, 11:45 p.m., Pat.
Yes.
On a Friday night, and the Minnesota Wild have a 4-3 lead entering the third period. And it would be pretty disappointing to ruin an effort like this in which Markstrom has just handed the game to the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, he's saying, guys, I'm gonna keep you in this game. I hope he plays the same way in the third, Brandon, because 3 short side goals from a world-class goaltender.
Yeah.
Whew. What do they say? Shoot the puck from anywhere, anytime, right?
And all 3 of them have been, as you mentioned, short side, from a low angle. I mean, that Sturm one, he was 2 feet off the goal line on that shot. And Markstrom went down before he ever shot the puck, and he's just, that's probably a sign of a not very confident goalie when he's going down before the shot's even being taken.
Well, you got to think of, I mean, it's in his head now. I mean, so I continue to throw every puck you can, try to get that separation goal and put him away. First 10 minutes is going to be real important. Vancouver's going to come out hard.
Let's talk about the 2 goals for the Minnesota Wild. The first one off the stick of Eriksson Ek, and it was important, Pat, because at one point in this game, Jared Spurgeon, Kevin Fiala, and Luke Cunnin had all the Minnesota Wild goals in this series. They need to get goals from elsewhere, and Eriksson Ek with a nice little move. It was a kind of more difficult shot than that appears, to get a rebound off of a bouncing puck. And, of course, Parise started that whole thing, deflecting the puck to create that rebound situation to begin with.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where he thrives, right? He can find pucks. He can tip pucks as well as anybody in the league. And he finds it. He's got good vision. And, Markstrom, couldn't handle it, obviously, off the tip, and it fell free. And Eriksson did a really good job of, he waited and he pulled it back a little bit, found the opening, and drilled it home. So good for him.
Anthony Gallet says, Sturm. We've had lots of discussion about Sturm over these first 2 games. And Pat, the goal was a bit lucky. That being said, he had a great burst of speed there up the side to even put himself in that position to get that shot off.
No, he's a big guy. I mean, he's a big guy, and he moves well for a guy his size. So, good for him. I mean, he's shown he can play, and and that's a positive for the Wild.
Justin Campbell says, staying out of the box. They've had a couple penalties, but compared to the last 2 nights where they had given up 13 power plays, and you saw Vancouver capitalize on one of the power plays they had earlier in this game. Let's talk about Quinn Hughes, Pat, because you and I did a fan line the other night, and you didn't say this on the air, but I'll allow you to say it now on this intermission. And before I get to your aspect of that, I mean, one, that wrist shot was a great shot. He had a phenomenal stretch pass there to set up Eriksson.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got Jared Spurgeon fooled in the neutral zone, that was a quick, great pass. But you made a pretty lofty comparison to him off the air the other day.
Yeah, Paul Coffey. I mean, he skates as well or better than Paul Coffey. And, Paul Coffey was smooth. Quinn Hughes is smooth. They both can get back in the play. They both know when to jump up in the play. I mean, he looks exactly. It's uncanny to see him play, and you think it's Paul Coffey out there, and just think he's a young kid too. He's only going to get a lot better.
And his shot was the one on the second goal from Vancouver that popped up high in the air before they were able to tap it in. So he was clearly a big part of that period for Vancouver. Bob says, barely noticed Greenway tonight. Is he in trouble with his team for the future? Pat, I have not been a fan of Greenway this series. That being said, I feel like he's been a little bit better tonight. He's getting to the blue paint a little bit more and causing a ruckus. Mm-hmm. And I think that line in general, Zuccarello's been a little bit more active and holding on to the puck a little bit more. So they haven't really tallied on the scoreboard other than the power play when Cunnin was out there early on in the game. But that line's been a little bit better, including Greenway. At least I feel like he's a little bit more engaged tonight.
Well, maybe we have to take a step back. Remember when we all thought Charlie Coyle was going to be this type of play.
Yeah.
Goal scorer. Oh man, he's going to get 30. Mark him down for 30, and he barely reached 20, sometimes 15. Maybe the expectations are a little bit too high for Jordan Greenway, at least at this stage of his career. He's got to learn the game a little bit better, or get a little bit more engaged, or trust himself, or believe in himself, because right now he does a lot of smiling after the end of a play, right? Like he'll go there. But I don't know what it does for him. He's not knocking anybody over and just owning a territory, and he's got to own the area that he's in, and right now he's not doing that.
McNabb says, do you agree the Wild is just too old to compete?
Well, I think they're a little old. Let's face it. When you have two guys in your top six who are both over 35 years old, yeah, that's old, or older. And it's just, father time never loses, Brandon. It never, ever loses. And when you're going up against young guys who can fly and who are skilled, it makes it a little tougher. Those guys are smart, and they know how to get around the ice, but there's no question that, and I think the organization knows they've got to get younger. I think that's why they tried to deal Zach at the trade deadline last year, and were almost successful doing it. But I think they know they've done a good job of drafting and picking up guys via free agency. So there's some young kids that are coming up, and they're getting there.
Team speed has been an issue for this organization over the last couple of years. I'll be curious now that Bruce Boudreau is gone and Dean Evison is your head coach, and you have a new GM in Bill Guerin, because I do feel like they kind of started to trend towards the kind of guys Bruce Boudreau likes, and he likes those big, tough power forwards. That's the way I always coached in Anaheim. And now that he's gone, we haven't really had a chance to see Dean Evison, what kind of guys he likes and what kind of offseason moves they'll make. But I am wondering if with Guerin at the helm and a new head coach, if they'll tend to go a little bit more towards the speed skill side as we move forward here.
Well, let's look at it. He kind of opened things up a little bit when he took over, and they were pretty successful. They got in on the forecheck. They involved their D a little bit more. Brandon, when you have defensemen like the Minnesota Wild have, Dumba can handle the puck and skate. Brodin can, same thing. Jared Spurgeon, same thing. Ryan Suter's not the most fleet of foot, but you know what? He's pretty savvy back there, and
Brad Hunt
and Brad Hunt also, right? And Susie's not that far off from getting there. Okay, so when you have D like that, well, boy, if you have speedy forwards and you can get up in the play and stretch the zone, it can create some trouble for some teams. So I think they have a plan. And I think they know the direction that they need to go in.
And by the way, Cale Addison, who they got in that trade for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I don't know how far away he is. He might be a year, might be 2 years, but he can skate back on the blue line. So they've got another.
Without a doubt, I mean, he was Canada's best defenseman, or at least best offensive defenseman in the World Juniors, where Canada won gold, and nothing but rave reviews from everybody I've talked to.
This is an interesting topic, I think. Jason Olson says, do you think Vancouver switches goalies after iffy goaltending far through the first two periods?
Well, I don't know. It may be up for debate in Game 5, but if there is a Game 5, but I don't know if you pull him now. It'd be risky, right? Thatcher Demko is a very good goaltender, but he hasn't played. And do you put him in this situation? I don't know. That's a tough call, but it's a good question.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I don't.
You've been a coach.
Well, I was going to say I don't follow Vancouver hockey enough to know the mindset and the mentality of Jacob Markstrom. There's certain goalies that I think can handle being benched in the third period, and there's certain goalies that you kind of want to leave him in there because you don't want to hurt him and you need him for Game 5. I mean, Markstrom's still going to be your starting goalie in Game 5.
Yep.
That being said, they're down 1 goal with a chance to win this game. You could argue they've been the better team through 2 periods here, and their goalie has kind of lost it for them. So I could definitely, depending on the mentality of Markstrom, which I don't know, I would definitely consider sitting him on the bench right now.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Philip Garofano says Susie playing strong. What have you thought of Susie's game so far through 2 in an elevated role?
Well, I think he's gotten better as the series has gone along. He had some tough moments, previously, but he's coming along. He's coming off an injury too, and it takes some time to get comfortable again. I think he's getting more comfortable the more he plays. He's a good defenseman. He is, and another one that's young and is still learning.
Do you dare want to ask an expansion question a year from now? We'll give it a shot. Derek Johnson says, in expansion, would you keep 4 defensemen and 4 forwards to keep Dumba and Brodin?
If it's a choice between Dumba and Brodin, I'm not.
Well, he's not saying it's necessarily a choice. You can keep 4 defensemen, but only get to keep 4 forwards. So then you would lose a forward. So for me personally, I would shop Matt Dumba this offseason.
Yes.
Just because you have a guy like Cale Addison who's a righty and is going to be able to provide offense. Maybe not next year, but you can find a stopgap for a year until he's ready in the future. And I would package Matt Dumba with something else to bring in that first or second line center that you're looking for. And
you're going to have to, right?
Because you're also going to have to pay Brodin here. So I mean, how many defensemen can you keep paying without being able to address the forward position?
Yeah, I agree. That's the move. You called it, and I agree with it 100% because this team needs help up front. They need a centerman, and the only way you're going to get a top flight centerman is to get rid of a player or 2 that are pretty good.
It was announced that if the Wild advance to Game 5, if they win tonight, 9:45 p.m. start on Sunday night, which
right.
I don't understand because most of the teams have been eliminated. I don't know why we need to play a game that late, but that is the start time. So if they do get to Game 5, since we're not going to be talking tonight after the game on Wild Fan Line, I will talk to you Sunday night.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Right. He's Pat Micheletti. I am Brandon Mileski. Thank you so much for watching us tonight. Really appreciate it. Go Wild here in the 3rd period.